As we go to the tight end position, I am talking again about a Green Bay Packer, my guy Robert Choppin Tunions, who I think led the Packers in targets and receiving yards in their loss to the Jets. I've been talking about him, Samantha, for weeks, and now he's got to be on your list too at this point.
He has been definitely on my radar. I'm not a
Okay.
non-believer of Tunyon or anything like that. That was a crazy game. I mean, I did not expect the Packers to lose to the Jets and the Giants. And then
They're all just covered in sauce. That's all it is. They're covered in cheese sauce. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, obviously Tunyon was one of two Packers to have a good day. I mean, Lazard found the end zone, but caught 10 of 12 targets for 90 yards, is the tight end 5. So, I mean, he's as good as you're probably going to get off of these waiver wire type guys. We talked about them being touchdown dependent. At least he's got some targets around him right now. And to your point, with Rodgers not really trusting or maybe placing a lot of trust in these younger type guys, he could start leaning on Tunyon, especially in the red zone. So I like him there, especially if you have a tight end on bye this week. He's 42% rostered.
Any other tight ends that you're liking? Because again, we have got teams on bye, that actually are rosterable. I mean, Dawson Knox is on rosters and he's going to be on a bye this week. Dallas Goedert is being relied upon from fantasy managers and he's going to be on bye this week. Are there any others that you would see as something more than a dart throw?
Yeah, so I think Noah Fant's been interesting. He's been interesting for the past couple weeks, caught 6 of 7 targets for 45 yards. Disley is the one that started out with the really hot hand. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns in the first 4 games, and now he was just held to 1 catch last week. So I think of the two, I mean, Fant, we kind of forget about him because he just had some brutal years in Denver, but
right.
And we didn't expect much out of him. We didn't expect much out of this whole Seahawks offense, to be clear. It wasn't specific to Noah Fant or anything. So he's been pretty surprising. He's only 11% rostered, so he's out there in a lot of leagues. He's got the Chargers, Giants, and Cardinals coming up next. So I like that. We already talked about Mike Gesicki. He could definitely be a bye week streamer. I mean, look, I had a guy, actually, it wasn't even a bye week. I had Pat Freiermuth as my only tight end in my 16 team league. So he's out, and I had to pick up Cameron Brate, who got injured during that game, of course. I mean, that's all that's on the waiver wire. When you have a bench of 10 guys in a 16 team league, like I don't carry 2 tight ends in that league. So that kind of stunk. I mean, Cade Otton could be a nice name if you're in a really deep league too, 6% rostered. And then the last guy I'm going to mention is Hunter Henry. He was actually one of my sleeper targets, and maybe I was just a few weeks off here, but he's coming off of a couple pretty good games. Week 5, he caught 4 of 5 targets for 54 yards. And this week he caught 4 of 7 targets for 61 yards and a touchdown. So with this offense looking a little more reinvigorated, I don't mind picking up him as a bye week replacement.
Okay, what about you, Mike? Any tight ends that are on your radar? I know Samantha covered a lot of them, and it's kind of the bottom of the barrel. You've been on this Jags offense, though, talking about Zay Jones. Evan Ingram has been involved there in Jacksonville a little bit as well, but you're giving me that unconvinced face yet again, Mike.
Well, yeah, I mean, Evan Ingram is like the standard, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's probably the least volatile of all of them. If you want your 5 points, I guess, or whatever it is, get Evan Ingram. Although I will say it's so funny that Samantha mentioned that. I'll brag because this never happens. I found out last night in the press box, and I see that Dalton Schultz is out, and I for some reason was unprepared for it in my 20 team league. So I picked up Jake Ferguson. And Jake Ferguson might be the difference between a win and a loss. So every once in a while, it's better to be lucky than good at this. But no, Robert Tunyon's the one who actually kind of interests me because you're talking about quarterbacks who trust guys. Aaron Rodgers has spent the whole season having trouble finding someone he can trust. And I have a feeling that could continue because that's a guy he has depended on in the past. And maybe there's something to that. You do like the trend you've seen with Hunter Henry, but also Jonnu Smith is starting to ramp back up. True. And Tyquan Thornton is back. So I don't know if the opportunity will still be there for him. It's hard to trust Gesicki unless Jalen Waddle misses time. But I did agree. If Samantha hadn't mentioned Noah Fant, I do like the upswing we're seeing there. But if you're relying on any one of these guys, then you're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, look, everyone's in trouble if you don't have Travis Kelce
really
or like Mark Andrews at this point. So
or like
is
a
very
Zach
true.
Ertz or a Taysom Hill, for goodness sakes. And I'll tell you this, like, honestly, someone listening to this podcast right now in your league, like someone is going to be forced to like drop Dawson Knox this week because they don't want to, but they have to go snap them up if you're hurting at the tight end position. I don't think it'll happen with a Dallas Goedert type, but there are some, it happens with the bye weeks all the time. And we are now firmly entrenched into the bye week. So you always want to look at that and see who's coming back off bye or get ahead of it and even take the hit for a week, knowing you have a definitely viable starter moving forward. Well, that has done it for another edition here of the Fantasy Flex Podcast. Dane Martinez, Samantha Praviti, and Mike Triplett trying to give you everything you need to win your leagues, win that cash. Always remember, you can hit Samantha up on the mailbag as well. Mailbag@actionnetwork.com. The best ones out there. She'll respond maybe on social media or maybe right here on the Fantasy Flex. So hopefully you've got everything you need to hit the waiver wire, get another victory, and keep on with that playoff push. And one thing I know is we'll all be back here next week trying to give you some more insights on the Fantasy Flex. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.